Welcome into No Punt Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. I am your host, Joe Zollo. This week, our second round of playoff teams, Eagles, Browns, and the Dallas Cowboys, two NFC East foes sprinkled in with the saddest franchise in NFL history, arguably. Detroit Lions up there as well, but the Browns definitely one of the saddest. We have Fizzle Dollars from South Harmon joining us today. No Ryan, just myself and Josh. Let's get into it. Welcome into No Punt Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. I am your host, Joe Zollo, as always. Josh, how are you?
I'm tired, man. It's been a couple of early mornings at work, and I'm just like so ready to get on with my week because I'm flying to New York City tomorrow, so it's gonna be good times.
Oh, wow. I love that. I'm happy for you. I can care less. First time on the show, Mr. Fizzle Dollars. Mr. Dollars, how are you?
I'm cool, bro. I'm cool, man. Happy to be here, man. I was telling Josh, man, I went from making intro songs to making, guest appearance as a fantasy analyst, as they say. So I ain't complaining, bro. I appreciate the time, man.
I love it. We've had two very, very cool guests back-to-back weeks here. This is fantastic. So no Ryan today, but we will discuss some random topics that Josh has either picked or myself has picked, and I can fill in for Ryan's MO and just talk whatever I need to talk about. But we have three teams: Philadelphia, Cleveland, and the Dallas Cowboys. We're all over the place today. Yes, these were three playoff teams. Yes, they all suck. We understand that's where we're at, and currently in the Look Inside team previews. I think next week is the first week we have a winning playoff team that we talk about. But we start in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia. Last year, 11-6. Pretty sure they were 10-1 after week 11, and then decided, what is football? And just proceeded to lose 6 of their last 7 and get bounced in the first round of the playoffs. Right, Josh?
Yeah, shut up.
Same head coach, Nick Sirianni. New offense, Kellen Moore, former OC last year with the Chargers. Previous to that, the Dallas Cowboys. The projected starting lineup, this is the underdog ADP as of July 8th. Again, this ADP is best ball. Starting probably in mid-July, we may transition over into that redraft area, but as of right now, it's mostly best ball ADPs. That's where you're going to get your best look at it. Jalen Hurts, quarterback number 2, behind Joshua Allen, who is number 1. Quarterback 2 on the team, Kenny Pickett, undrafted, surprisingly. Yeah, you may be asking, wasn't Kenny Pickett a first-round pick not too long ago? You are correct. And while the Chargers are very good at not the Chargers, the Steelers are very good at dissecting wide receiver talent, they are horrible at dissecting quarterback talent, if you haven't noticed of late. Running back 1, Saquon Barkley, jump ship from the Giants. Doesn't go too far, ends up in Philly, but on a division rival, RB6 in ADP. To Will Shipley, the 7-year veteran from Clemson. Felt like he played with Hunter Renfrow and Deshaun Watson when they were still Clemson Tigers. RB67, Kenny Gainwell, RB71. 2 stacker receivers, A.J. Brown at 6, DeVonta Smith at 18, and a steep drop-off to Paris Campbell at wide receiver 122. If that doesn't tell you there's 2 receivers in this offense, I don't know what does. Now, one guy might jump up. Johnny Wilson, the rookie out of Florida State, he's 123, and Ainias Smith is 125. Again, it's no shock to anybody, but there's the Philadelphia Eagles offense, followed up by Dallas Goedert at tight end 12. He is just on the cusp of a tight end 1 in ADP so far right now. I will start with the second wide receiver in this offense, who on any given week could be the guy to go for 150 and 2 touchdowns. Fizzle, you want to talk about DeVonta Smith. He's at 18, and he's kind of been ADP'd in this area, it feels like for like 3 straight seasons. He's just been in this area, especially when A.J. Brown got there. And he seemed to finish either here or even a little better than where his ADP is at. Do you like him this year? Are you worried with the addition of Barkley that he doesn't get as many targets? How are you feeling?
Man, well, first of all, man, Smitty is the guy. He's always going to be the guy, man. I started this thing last year with Mike with this Doodoo Brown, AJ Brown thing, and he hated it. He hated me for it, but I felt like AJ kind of forced his targets. Like if you look at those games, he did a lot of yelling, fussing, and they were winning those games. But he kind of like strong arm DeVonta Smith. And one thing I know, even though people going to say when Goddard gets hurt, that's when Smith gets his, gets his play and a lot of yards. But I looked at his numbers earlier. 1,000 yards this year, 1,100, almost 1,222. And with Kellen Moore as your offensive coordinator, the ball will be spread around. That's number one. There's no question about how much he's going to throw that ball. But number two, man, I really feel like Smitty is, as much as AJ Brown gets the love, and there's no hate on AJ, but Smitty is the glue, man. If you look at what he did in Alabama, bro, that's enough to tell you that this guy is the guy. But when he gets on this offense with a head coach like Kellen Moore, who had CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, and Amari Cooper, and they all had 1,000 yards in one season, I don't see why. If, like we just said, there's only 2 receivers on this team, I don't see why DeVonta Smith can't have his career best 1,200 yards this season as a receiver too on this team. So I'm all Smitty. That was that ranked receiver 18. You could book him for that or higher, but I wouldn't book him no less than 15 this year, man. So let's go, Smitty. Let's run them numbers up, baby.
Josh?
I love me some DeVonta Smith. I know there was a lot of, especially with his first couple of years, where it was like, when Goddard's playing, he doesn't do near as well, or when he's out, it's this and that. And like, I get it. Like when they're playing together, DeVonta just this past season was on pace for 216 fantasy points. And in the 3 games without Dallas Goedert, he was on pace for 375 fantasy points. Like it's a drastic difference.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, when you're playing with AJ Brown, your ceiling is capped anyway because he's the big play guy, right? So DeVonta Smith's job is to take the targets that are given to him and make the most of it. And that's exactly what he does week in and week out. Is he going to have a few bumps in the road? 100%. But this is going to be a very different offense. And when you look at these Kellen Moore years, even going back to Dallas, Fizzle, like they haven't really had a consistent wide receiver 2, right? They've had like a good tight end and a really good wide receiver 1, but they've never really had that dominant wide receiver 2 that commands the targets as well. So I think that really is going to push a lot more DeVonta's way. And with Dallas Goedert's inability to stay healthy for a full season, people forget that he's only played 1 full season in his career, and that was part-time his rookie year. He's going to miss plenty of time. So DeVonta can easily pay off at wide receiver 18 price.
We talk about the price, and he is in a spot that feels maybe towards the lower end of where he will be, and that's why I want to go into our first game of Would You Rather this evening. Fizzle, I'm sure you've never played this game before in your life, so let me break it down to you.
I never heard of it, brother.
Yeah,
never
heard
heard
very
of it.
simple. It's very simple. I know you think, oh my God, this sounds like a crazy game. No. I give you the player in question, DeVonta Smith. I give you another player, and you simply tell me, who would you rather have on your team? It's hard. I know the concept is tough.
I'm sweating, man.
I know. So that's why I simplify it for all the guests. No. So
Yes,
we're going to go 2 above and 2 below.
Okay.
And I will probably go 3 below because directly below DeVonta Smith is Malik Neighbors, and I don't think either of you are going to take Malik Neighbors over DeVonta Smith in redraft.
No, I'm not, bro.
So we're going to skip Malik Neighbors. Again, that's the weird outlier with these best ball ADP drafts right now, is Malik Neighbors in redraft is probably not creeping up into the first part of the 3rd round in your redraft league. So we will go through here. Also, fun fact, in the 3rd round where DeVonta Smith is going as the first pick, there are only 3 non-wide receivers being drafted in the 3rd round.
Welcome to best ball.
Insane right now. But we will start. Deebo Samuel or DeVonta Smith? I don't need an explanation. If you want to, you can. But who would you rather, Deebo Samuel or DeVonta Smith? Fizzle.
I'm going DeVonta Smith. I'm the wrong guy to ask about Deebo, but I'm going Smitty, man.
Josh.
Oh, Smitty, hands down. I'm not a Deebo stan.
I would go DeVonta Smith as well. The perennial 1,000-yard receiver, Mike Evans or DeVonta Smith? Fizzle.
I like me some Mike, man. Felt like he had a great season last year, but he's going to reach 1,000 yards. But I'm going Smitty, man. Smitty's going to be a little higher.
This one actually is pretty close for me. I'm going to lean Smith. But it's close. They're like, I have them within like one fantasy point of each other in my projection. So
if I'm on the clock, I'm taking DeVonta Smith. I'm taking DeVonta Smith every time there. I think it's
close. I think that Bucs offense is going to regress without Dave Canales. Truthfully,
correct.
Hey, that's the biggest reason. Yep.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. DeVonta Smith or DK Metcalf? Fizzle.
I'm taking Smitty, man. I feel like they're going to throw the ball to all three receivers and maybe even Noah Fant. So Philly gonna do the same, but I'm gonna go Smith. I believe in Smith just a little higher. This is the closest range it's gonna get for me though, but I'm going Smitty.
Josh,
I am unreasonably high on DK this year. It's DK for me.
Okay, great. So Fizzle, that means you chose right because Josh is gonna be wrong. And last two, DeVonta Smith or DJ Moore? Fizzle.
Again, I gotta go Smitty, man. I think Keenan Allen's gonna ask for a lot of targets, and I think a lot of people sleeping on Rome, man. Him and Caleb as rookies, they might hang out together. They're the same age. They might go to the clubs together. That bond is gonna break real soon. So DJ gonna take a little seat back, I think, a little bit this year. So I'm going Smitty over DJ.
Josh,
I have DJ Moore higher. I don't think he's gonna fall off as much as people think.
I'm a DJ Moore stan, so I'm full. You either love or you hate him. I love DJ Moore.
I'm in Maryland, so I'm with you.
I love DJ Moore. And the last one, because I do feel he is criminally low. DeVonta Smith or Cooper Kupp? Fizzle.
I knew you was gonna ask Cooper Kupp, bro. I was hoping you was gonna skip over Kupp because I'm a Kupp stan, bro.
That's why I brought it up.
When Robert Woods was there, I was telling people, man, y'all tripping. Kupp about to run this up, and it happened. So that's like the breaking point, bro. I would say to me, I'm a cop out, flip a coin, bro. I take either one, man. Flip a coin. I take either one.
I'm going to take Kupp only because we have seen the massive ceiling from Kupp. We haven't truly seen it from Smith. So I think at that point, you're still getting a really good floor with both of them. And at that point, I'm going to take who I've seen the higher ceiling from.
Can I say if Kupp is healthy, I would take Kupp. But if Kupp and the injuries is why I would flip a coin. But if we talking
if Kupp gets injured in the preseason, it's DeVonta Smith, hands down.
If we talking at least 15 games, I would take Kupp. But with the injuries included, I will flip a coin.
That's fair. Yeah, if you want more, and it's weird to say this about a guy whose legs look like, toothpicks, but if you want more guaranteed health, potentially DeVonta Smith, whereas Cooper Kupp is older, all of those things. I would just throw this up. This is not obviously a Philadelphia Eagles thing, but in the division, Brandon Cooks is going to ride out into the sunset with 1,400 yards this year. While I hope that happens,
I don't.
It is not going to happen.
I'm sorry, Shiz. It won't happen, brother.
That is not going to happen. And also, is this true? Did none of Caleb's teammates show up to his birthday party?
I have no idea. I felt like it's a mock on the draft day.
I hope that's true.
I'm sure Rome showed up.
Yeah.
Rome's a dog. Rome is a dog. Look out. All right. To the tight end position. Why? But Josh wants to talk about him because we love tight ends on this show, don't we, Josh?
Yeah, Dallas, it's funny. I actually, when I was going through and I was doing this, I literally highlighted all the tight ends because I think all of these guys are very interesting with these three teams. But
all right, the other two are fine. The other two are fine.
Yeah, well, and that's like I look at this, and every single year we keep expecting Dallas Goedert to be a top 12 guy, and it just feels like he never is. Like I'm going through and looking back at his points per game finishes. They've been solid, but not anything overly spectacular, especially when he doesn't play enough games. So just looking at starting in his rookie year, he was tight end 27. Then he jumps up tight end 12, tight end 10, tight end 8, tight end 5, but he only played 12 games. And then was tight end 12 last year in 14 games. And again, this is points per game, but you're looking at games played of 14, 11, 13, 12, 14. They're just all over the place because he doesn't play a full season. Now you're going into a new offense that should, in theory, throw the football more because that's what Kellen Moore does. But when you pay the type of money that you pay Saquon Barkley, they're going to use him quite a bit on the ground. I don't see a scenario where Saquon Barkley is getting less than 250 carries if he's playing 15 or more games. So that's going to eat into some of that target share. Now, when you look at the tight end usage in Kellen Moore offenses, they'll range anywhere from 14 to 16% target share, which is great, especially in a higher pass volume offense. But as I mentioned when we were talking about DeVonta Smith, Kellen Moore has never really had a viable number 2 wide receiver. And when he has, the wide receiver 1 only got like 1% target share more than the wide receiver 2. There's never been a big a gap the way that he has with an A.J. Brown and a DeVonta Smith, which is going to leave a little bit less when you're looking at how much target share can the tight end really get. The upside is that they're expecting a lot of similarities to what they previously did and just kind of sprinkling that Kellen Moore effect. So that means this is going to be a pass funnel offense. The top 3 targets are more than likely going to be Brown, Smith, Goedert. But now that you're paying Saquon and you're utilizing Saquon, I fully expect 11% or 12% target share going his way, which could approach 70 targets. I don't know a world where Dallas Goedert's getting 90 targets, and even then, he averages less than 4 touchdowns per season. So what you're saying is he's Evan Ingram light because he doesn't get the touchdowns, but then he doesn't get the volume. So really, he's just Noah Fant with a name. So you're overpaying for him because of that. And I think that's just not worth it when it comes to fantasy, because you always talk about that like 7 to 12 range being like a tight end dead zone. Dallas Goedert is one of those traps.
Fizzle, anything on Dallas Goedert to add?
Yeah, I would just say he's a perfect best ball guy that's ranked higher than he should be, right? Because I'm looking at his numbers now, and he's consistently double digits, like 10 minimum. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's 13, 17, 20. You know, he has those spike weeks, but if you had to start him every week, would you expect it? You know, you wouldn't know which week. If you had let's just say Dallas Goedert and I want to say like a Cole Kmet. Let's say Njoku, who we're gonna touch on later, but let's just say Njoku and Dallas Goedert, right? Who do you start? And then you'll look at the offense and see which offense is better, the matchups. But you might end up playing the wrong guy if it's a lineup. Now, best ball, I would definitely say Goddard is just an overranked best ball tight end. I feel like guys like Cole Kmet are in the same similar situations. They might be in a pass heavy offense. He got 4 weapons around him with DJ Moore, Adonze, Keenan Allen, Kmet, Swift. You know, it's almost like a similar. Like Chicago was like a C+ version of the Philadelphia Eagles offense, pretty much. Jalen Hurts, Caleb, you know what I'm saying? DJ Moore, AJ Brown, Smitty, Keenan, you know what I'm saying? Like if you look at how deep their receiving tight end room is, as far as the youth go, Chicago has it. But Dallas Goedert, to me, if you look at his numbers, it's a consistent 10 points minimum. I just think we overpay for him because of the name and the helmet. And I'm okay with missing him. I'm okay with taking him, but I'm not reaching for him in any draft. I just say that.
Yeah, the thing that I found really interesting when you look at DeVonta Smith's rookie year until now, Dallas Goedert's yards per reception went from 14.8 to 12.8 to 10 as Smitty has grown into his role. That just tells you right there, they're going to use Smitty a lot more in this offense, especially for the bigger plays. Dallas Goedert really is that safety blanket at this point.
Those mid to late rounds, there's better picks to take a swing on.
Exactly. There we go. There we go. Yep.
And we'll end in Philadelphia.
Joe didn't sound like he was too happy about Dallas Goedert. He wanted to move on. My bad for keep making you hear too much.
No, hey, listen. We're all here to have fun. And what's more fun than a position where
Joe hates tight ends?
Hey, listen,
that's probably why subconsciously I literally picked every single one.
Dude.
And stop harming. Tight ends don't matter, man. That's what they tell me. So I got to get aboard, man.
Listen, all I know is that in 1 week of your fantasy tight end one could be Sam Laporta. You know, the first tight end going off the board right now. It could also be
David Njoku for like 4 weeks, right?
It could be David Njoku. I'm trying to think. It could be Jonnu Smith, who was ADP'd at 534 last year. So what even is this position when you think about it? That's, it's just a crapshoot to me, and I don't like it. It's just a crapshoot to me. So we'll
you like kickers. It makes no sense to me.
Kickers consistently score more than tight ends. Tell me.
And yet it's the same thing. A different one is the top of the position every single week. So
yeah, but it feels better with a kicker. Let me tell you.
No, really.
Justin Tucker is more of a legend than Travis Kelce. I stand by that statement.
I asked the Tampa Bay Bucks. They took one in the second round a couple years ago, bro. I don't know.
Well, Roberto Aguayo.
And I'm a Florida State guy, so
dude, it's weird they didn't do a vision test because he was actually blind.
I don't know what
crazy.
He was. Yeah, I'm a Florida State guy, man. It hurt my heart to see it, man.
The last good kicker taken high was Sebastian Janikowski, and he deserved it. That man was a dog.
I think he just drink beers in the locker room, man. I think that's really what got him.
He was an overweight white guy with a leg that could kick 70 yards. That's exactly who Sebastian. That is what your kicker should be. All right, Justin Tucker can sing opera all day long. I want my kicker.
Dude, if Gardner Minshew was a kicker, he would be more of a god than he is.
Are you kidding me?
I like that.
Janikowski looks like the guy in the dive bar smoking a cigar in the corner, pounding a Busch Light. And he just shows up to work and just does his job so well.
He looked like when it's 4th and 10, he like, hold my beer, and I'm just going ahead and just kick a 70-yard field goal.
Janikowski, dog. And also the only other team to take a punter in the first round, Ray Guy, dog. Fucking Raider legend. Yeah.
You're right.
My brother loves, he hates Randy Bullock. So he says no more tubby Randy Bullocks around. But we will end in Philadelphia with... you might want to update that timestamp, Josh. With Saquon Barkley, the hot off-season edition, to where we are getting the inside look on how stupid the Giants front office is. And it is basically confirming everything we have been thinking in real time. It was an interesting move to say, let's pay Daniel Jones all of this money and not pay Saquon,
best offensive player,
a quarter of that money. It was a choice. Let's say it was a choice. That choice has ended up in the lap of the Philadelphia Eagles. Behind, yes, they lose Jason Kelce, still behind one of the best run-blocking offensive lines in the NFL. They get arguably one of the best backfield weapons in the NFL. How are we feeling, Josh?
Oh, I absolutely love this. When you talk about a breakaway ability and the ability to create big plays, Saquon Barkley is probably a top 3 running back in the NFL when it comes to that. And when you put that behind easily the best offensive line that he has ever had, he's going there. There's a case he can challenge Christian McCaffrey as the best running back in the NFL this season.
In fantasy
That's
football.
how good he can be. No, I mean, all over, because he's just as good with the football in his hands, especially as a receiver. They can do a lot of the similar things, and Barkley is bigger, right? So in theory, he should be able to take more of a pounding. I say in theory because clearly he's missed a lot of games. So hopefully having a better offensive line in front of him can help with that. And as I said, you get 15 games out of him, you should very easily get 1,200 plus yards rushing on top of another 300 or 400 receiving. Twice in his career, he's top 1,300 yards. Twice in his career, he's hit 10 or more rushing touchdowns. He's added in, many receiving touchdowns as well. Like, he's a multifaceted guy. And that's the type of back that Kellen Moore has had. When you look at like prime Zeke Elliott, that's what Zeke could do. He could run between the tackles, he could get those yards, and he could score touchdowns. This is everything that Saquon can do. And Saquon can do that better because he's more electric with the football in his hands. So again, you put him behind a good offensive line, which he's never had in New York, and 2 seasons he topped 4.6 yards per carry. There's good things to happen, especially when you have a quarterback who commands a defensive attention because of what he can do with his legs. Saquon is primed for a top 5 season this year, and I am all aboard. You can argue top 3 season, truthfully.
I'm here for it. I'm gonna take Bijan in the first round and wrap and get Saquon Barkley and be very happy about taking Keenan Allen as my wide receiver 1 in the 3rd round, as the Keenan Allen stands do. I'll give you one bet to end this. Josh says Jalen Hurts over 22.5 passing touchdowns this year. It's plus 125.
He's only hit that once. He hit 23 last year. But again, the change in philosophy going from Steichen and Brian Johnson to Kellen Moore, who's going to open up and throw more, I think getting 23 passing touchdowns is a pretty easy bet, truthfully.
Moving now to the beautiful city of Cleveland, Ohio, situated beautifully on the lake. That's about all it has to it. There's nothing much more for that city. I was really trying to think.
I was about to say, huh? Okay.
It is on a lake. LeBron used to live there. Those are the two things it has going for them. 11-6, same coach, Kevin Stefanski, same offense. Stefanski calls the plays. Ken Dorsey is the new offensive coordinator. He was the OC that Buffalo fired after they were a roughly 500 team, and then they went on their little win streak there. So Ken Dorsey, the OC, but Stefanski still calling the plays. Starting offense, oh baby. Fully guaranteed Deshaun Watson is back at the quarterback 1 position, QB 21 in ADP. His backup, no longer January Joe. It is instead January Jameis. Look out. Look out, you sons of bitches. Jameis Winston could see some playing time this season. The RB1, Jerome Ford. You may be asking yourself, why is Jerome Ford the RB1 currently? Well, Nick Chubb may have completely ripped his leg apart last year. Hard to say. But he is RB44 in ADP, where Jerome Ford is RB39. Deonta Foreman, the big dog himself, it says wide receiver 63. That's not right. He's running back 63. Dumbass that puts together the show sheet. Josh, jeez. Wide receiver 1, Amari Cooper at wide receiver 29. Jerry Jeudy is wide receiver 61. Gross. Elijah Moore, wide receiver 96. And Cedric Tillman, the second-year player, wide receiver 100. In tight end 1, in chief number 1, David Njoku is the tight end 11. He is okay. We can talk about David Njoku because that man, that is a scary man. But we won't start there. We'll start in the backfield with Jerome Ford. Now, I have a funny feeling Fizzle and I are going to heavily disagree on this because I imagine Fizzle saying this is a value at RB39. I can't imagine we're shitting on a guy who is not even a flex player when you think about it, getting drafted where he's at. So I have to imagine this is an upside play. How do you feel, Fizzle?
First of all, I want to say shout out famous Jameis, man. I had to eat a W when you was talking about my guy, man. The famous one, the Jameis one. That's my dog.
Nothing
right
but L's though.
Like, that's my guy, man. Listen, he ain't past quarterback 32, man. He should be starting, man. But Jerome Ford,
don't worry, right? He will be.
Listen, that's all I'm saying, man. It's trouble in Cleveland, man. That's all I'm telling you, man. But Jerome Ford, right? So he finished what around?
I think it was 15.
15 last year.
I think it was RB 15. He was fairly high.
Okay, so he finished 15, right? Yeah, 813 yards, 9 touchdowns, 204 carries, right? And he started, I think, weeks 13 to 17. But he didn't come into the offseason thinking he was a starter. He didn't practice with the ones. Nick Chubb, that was his job. He was locked in. This offseason, if he finished 15, knowing that he's coming into the season as the guy, and Nick Chubb is probably a long shot to even play before December even starts, I don't see how the coach of the year 2 times looks at him and say, hey, you are Nick Chubb right now. You're not as good as Nick Chubb, but you are Nick Chubb. We didn't put a young, great running back behind you. Deontay Foreman he's a solid running back, but they didn't put a threat behind Ford that he feels like one bad move and he's benched. He's sitting out, So coming in with the knowledge as we leaning on you because maybe Deshaun isn't who we thought he was, and we going to trust his run game like Nick Chubb was there. I believe Jerome Ford, man, behind this offensive line and this division where, now they starting to throw the ball a lot more, but it's still a gritty, grimy division, especially when they get cold, man. If Nick Chubb isn't available or he's still ramping things up by December, man, Jerome Ford finished 15. If he plays 15 games as the starter, Man, Jerome Ford is running back 12, bro. He's the RB1 this year. If Nick Chubb doesn't touch that field and interrupt that offense, like I don't think he will. I believe they pay Nick Chubb because they respect him and they love him, but I don't think Nick Chubb is going to be any factor on the field during the regular season. Playoffs, maybe they make it and they need him, but it's Jerome Ford time, baby, and we build Ford tough, so we're going to go Jerome Ford, running back 12 if he plays every game this year, man.
I like that. Built Ford tough. I like that.
Josh, I'll let you go.
The thing I like him at 39, Ford, bro, that's a hell of a steal. I don't mean to cut you off, Josh, but to get him at 39, if he's ranked, if he's listed even as 15, let's say he finished 15, you doubled your money. So that's all I'm saying, bro. Yeah,
I mean, just look at the pass catching volume. I mean, he had over 60 targets last year, and that was a huge contribution into, he actually finished his RB 16, but that's obviously splitting hairs. But it does kind of interest me that, you bring in someone like Foreman, who is very well known for being like kind of an early down grinder. We saw that what Ford can do from a pass catching perspective, that maybe they try to do more of like a 1-2 tandem versus just saying, all right, Ford, you're going to be the every down guy, right? I'm also not 100% convinced that Nick Chubb doesn't find a way to get onto the field by October. I know that was a nasty knee injury. But by the start of the season, you're looking at about 12 months of rehab time. So, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, Chubb is clearly built different. And I feel like we throw that phrase around irresponsibly, but he's tore his knee up twice in college. This is the second time he'll have torn up that same knee. But I still think 44 is criminal for Nick Chubb. But I don't hate the value with Ford, right? Like, again, even just the pass catching volume alone tells me that RB39 is a steal. And he had over 200 carries last year. So even if that drops down to like 180, 150, he keeps 60 plus targets, and what he can do with that should still be a top 24, top 26 finish for Jerome Ford. So I think it's plenty of value at RB39.
So while I don't disagree that he has everyone has value at 39 at that point. Like, everyone has value. He is all over the place in terms of efficiency. You have no idea if you're getting 15 carries for 25 yards or 7 carries for 107. And that is what I can't stand about Jerome Ford, because in these games, for example, the Cleveland against Pittsburgh game, he was 16 for 106. I'm pretty sure one of those carries was 60 yards. He did nothing the rest of the game. That's my worry with Ford, is what that shows me is he doesn't have good vision. Because with how many big plays he had last year, he's still under 4 yards a carry. That's, which we know was the bar for a good running back, is 4 yards a carry. 3.9. Kamara's been under 4 the last 3 years. And yes, you're splitting hairs at that point, but that shows you that he doesn't have the best vision. I love his big playability, and I would actually like if D'Onta Foreman came in and they did a 1-2 split, because that means you're going to see a Najee Harris, Jalen Warren thing where Jalen Warren's in for like 15 to 20 plays, but he has 10 touches and averages 8 yards a play with those touches. Whereas I think if Warren was in there full time, you wouldn't see that efficiency. Look at Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott. That's your perfect case study. If Jerome Ford can play second fiddle to either when Chubb comes back or when D'Onta Foreman's in there, because neither of those guys catch passes. They don't. It's just not what they do. Georgia running backs have never caught anything. So that's no surprise there with Nick Chubb. And D'Onta Foreman's been the same way. If they can do that, I'm okay with that. But I'm looking at the ADP, and there's guys around there that I would just much rather have over Jerome Ford. Because, Chase Brown feels like it's kind of the same thing. Obviously, Ford is going to have more playing time because he has less competition currently. But Chase Brown's competing with Zach Moss. Are we really worried about Zach Moss in that standpoint? Zeke, I hate saying this, but who the hell is competing with Ezekiel Elliott in that backfield, right? Like, at that point, at 38, it's like, well, he's going to have 25 carries a game. Might as well fucking take him. Austin Eckler at 40. Zach Charbonnet at 41. Like,
I'll take Ford over Charbonnet.
Hey, Joe, but I will say this, right? I would take Ford over all those guys, but remember, Ford had like 5 quarterbacks last year too, bro. He had Darian Thomas Robinson.
Oh yeah, there was no consistency.
It was no
with
consistency at the quarterback or the offense. So I believe a lot of those inefficient games came from they don't even know what plays to call because they don't trust anybody that's lining up behind the center until Joe Flacco showed up. You know what I'm saying? So I get what you're saying, and it's a great point because I said the same thing when I brought him up. But then I also looked at it's no consistency with the offense. So if Deshaun can be this $250 million guy and be consistent in staying in the game, I don't care what he do in the game, but just stay in the game, and at least they'll know the game. You know. The what I want to say the
game plan.
Yeah, like pretty much what we gonna do for today. Not waking up saying, well, we got a rookie. No. Then they had like 4 different quarterbacks last year, bro.
DTR, Flacco, Watson, and PJ Walker.
It was ugly, man. PJ Walker, I mean, come on, bro. That's the only reason why I gave my guy Ford a lot of slack, because I felt like his inefficiencies came from not knowing what we were going to do today. Like we just
they had an inconsistent line too. They had a lot of injuries across that line last year, if I'm not mistaken.
All true. My worry is if Deshaun Watson is not back. Let's just say Deshaun Watson plays all 17. Let's forget that he's a bitch and probably sits out half the season. But if he plays all 17 and he's not Deshaun Watson, are we not worried? Now, I'm not worried about Nick Chubb could see an 11-man box and still average 5 yards a carry. That man will do. The man's insane.
For sure.
If Jerome Ford is seeing stacked boxes because you're just like, all right, we'll just cover Amari Cooper one-on-one or double cover Cooper and we're fine elsewhere because they really, yes, Njoku's a threat, but they don't really have a threat outside of Amari Cooper.
I don't know, Joe, but listen though. I don't listen now. This is what I'm gonna say, right? I'm not saying these guys are that good. I'm not gonna say argue with you. But they signed Jerry Jeudy for a reason. The speed will factor into something.
That's why. He's gonna be doing this. Trying to catch footballs and missing. Come on.
I'm not saying he's gonna be efficient. I'm just saying he's gonna be fast. He's gonna run some routes. They got Elijah Moore. He's quick. I mean, they got guys that are quick enough to draw defenses back a little bit because you get them if they catch the ball.
Respect. I give you that. I'll give you that.
Exactly. Like they're gonna respect these guys enough to not stack the box. I think that's why they did it, to help open up the running game, because they realized it was no threats last year. So paying Jerry Jeudy, who's due for something. I mean, he's due to show up at some point.
We think.
And you're right. We think. I just want to make the case for Ford that hopefully they put enough around the offense to say Ford should be comfortable as a RB1 in this team, and maybe lead that division, man, in rushing for a little while.
It's hard to argue with a guy who's coming in as the lead back at RB39. It's very hard to argue that point.
For sure. You got me, bro. You got me.
He's going to like,
I can't spend over 10 minutes arguing on it.
Well, my argument is he's just so inefficient. That's my argument, is like, just don't grab Ford and like start him week 1 and expect a fucking boom week. Like, there's such a good chance he averages 2 yards a carry week 1. Like, there's a real chance of that. And you'll be kicking yourself when he averages 2 yards a carry and then rips off an 80-yard touchdown.
I'm going to say, just trade him to me, man. If you don't want him after week 1, trade him to me, man. I'll take him.
But you are right. I think the worry is, will the defense respect Deshaun Watson? I do think there's enough speed on the team to respect. And Elijah Moore and Jerry Jeudy can run routes. Catching the football is a secondary story for the both of them.
For sure.
But yeah, we will go with probably when Nick Chubb's not healthy, their second best weapon in David Njoku. He has to be the largest human I've seen. Like, that man should not be able to move the way he does and do the things he does. Now, will he be able to do the things he can do with Deshaun Watson at quarterback, Josh? Because to me, I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, what he was able to do without Deshaun Watson last year, so 10-game pace, he was on pace for 257 fantasy points, which would have blown away Sam Laporta last year. Like, that's 146 targets, 95 catches, 1,108 yards, and 8 touchdowns. That was without Deshaun Watson. scary how awesome he was going to be without Deshaun. Then you put him with Deshaun for those first 6 games. He was on pace for 153 fantasy points, 102 targets, which is still great. You love that sort of target volume. 71 catches, 652 yards, and only 3 touchdowns. So that just goes to show you how washed Deshaun Watson's shoulder is right now. Like, it's bad. So hopefully he spent the time in the offseason rehabbing and strengthening that shoulder, because when you get David Njoku downfield, he is a scary man with the football in his hands. And I've known this going all the way back to the Miami days because I'm a huge Hurricanes fan. I've been a fan of David Njoku for a very long time. So I absolutely love this. And I love that our own Kelly Singh got a chance to spend some time with Njoku at the Super Bowl. And because she's a huge David Njoku fan now. And I love this. But I'm perfectly fine with this tight end 11 ADP, because when you look at these splits with Deshaun Watson, he was on pace for a tight end 10 finish. Without Deshaun Watson, he was trending as the tight end 1 last year. So when you look at who's backing up Deshaun this year, what does that look like? It's kind of Joe Flacco light. It's a big-armed guy that knows how to throw the football downfield. Doesn't that kind of play to David Njoku's strengths? If I'm drafting David Njoku, I'm kind of praying that Jameis Winston comes in and starts eating W's, baby.
I will say the one thing you cannot discount Jameis Winston on is he doesn't give a flying fuck if he throws 7 interceptions. He's gonna
slinging it.
YOLO, baby, YOLO.
He doesn't care in the slightest what happens to that football.
And at the end of the day, you want a tight end that's going to be a top 2 target, or at worst, a top 3 in a very high passing volume offense. Jerry Jeudy and Elijah Moore do not scare me at all. They're not going to make command targets the way that David Njoku can command targets.
Who would you rather throw across the middle to? A 6'6", 260-pound guy that runs just as fast as your 2 and 3, or the tiny guys that may or may not catch the football?
Exactly.
Yeah, he's a Derrick Henry of tight ends right now. That's for sure, bro.
Absolutely insane. We imagine David Njoku with like Tom Brady.
Oh my God.
I mean, imagine with Pat Mahomes.
I was just saying, put him on the Chiefs right now.
Yeah.
That's
put him with Dak. I wouldn't mind him with Dak either. You mean Dak won't throw the ball to him?
We're going to get to Dak's tight end a little bit.
That's
I like him a lot. We will end this Cleveland Browns segment, though, with Amari Cooper. And we have down here the best wide receiver value in drafts. And we're going to test that with the Would You Rather game, because he's currently wide receiver 29.
That's why I wanted to do this.
Yeah, no,
I think when you're really looking at like his ability to command targets and sort of where he's going at, it feels like a steal. Like him, Deontay Johnson, Keenan Allen, they're all kind of in that mold of like, why is their ADP so depressed right now?
And it is due in massive part to 26 receivers going in the first 36 picks of these best ball drafts, which is absolutely insane. But Cooper is wide receiver 29. He's going in the middle of the 4th round currently in these best ball drafts. Again, 2 above, 2 below, might skip around a couple, but we're going to start with T. Higgins or Amari Cooper. Fizzle.
Yeah, I got to go on my boy T, man. Playing for a they both playing for a contract. Coop want to get paid next year too. But I think T really wants a contract. Like he's going to make sure he signed that 1-year thing for a reason. Like he ain't want to sign it. He didn't want to be there. So now that I'm here, I'm going to eat, and I'm going to be the number 1 receiver and free agent next year. So I'm going to go with T on that one.
He wants wide receiver 1 money
for sure.
Josh?
Amari Cooper's highs are much higher than T. Higgins' highs. Give me Amari Cooper.
I like T. Higgins quarterback.
I like T. Higgins too.
I was going to say, at that point, do you take Deshaun Watson or Joe Burrow? That's what it's going to come down to.
Oh, Joe Burrow, 100%.
Yeah, sure.
But Amari Cooper isn't playing opposite Jamar Chase. That's the difference.
I will take Jake Browning over Deshaun Watson at this current point in time.
Damn.
Damn is correct. I would take a lot of starting quarterbacks in the end. I would take some backup quarterbacks in the NFL over Deshaun Watson currently. You could argue I'd rather Jameis Winston in there. If you told me Jameis Winston was the starter, I'd put Amari Cooper worlds above T. Higgins right now. Worlds above T. Higgins.
Crab leg king, baby.
And that's not to say Jameis is even good, but he can throw.
Oh, he's good. He's good. He's a lot of good.
George Pickens or Amari Cooper? Fizzle.
I say this. In best ball, I like Pickens. In a lineup, I like Cooper.
Okay.
Can I say that?
That's totally fine. Josh.
Cool.
Yeah, those exact thoughts, Fizzle. We talked all last week about how down on George Pickens I am. I will take Cooper here, hands down.
Fire me up, George Pickens. I fucking love George Pickens. I'm a big George Pickens guy. All right, Amari Cooper or Christian Kirk, Fizzle.
I'm going Cooper on this one, man. More so, they added Gabe, they added Brian Thomas. They're looking for some help with Trevor. Ball gonna be spread around. I like Kirk though, but I'm gonna take Cooper for just being the solid number one on this team. Kirk might not be the number one. He should be, but he might not. So I'm gonna go Cooper.
Josh.
I like both.
Okay, well, pick one. They're one spot ahead in draft. They're one.
I know. I'm gonna lean Cooper, and it really is. It's for the exact reasons that Fizzle said. Like, to me, the only competition for Cooper is David Njoku, and Njoku's not going to outproduce Cooper. So.
Give me every bit of Christian Kirk at wide receiver 30.
Every
little
Christian
bit of it.
Kirk.
I bit on Kirk the last 2 years, and it paid off, and I'm buying again. I am all in. That is the best target Trevor Lawrence has rapport with.
Yeah.
He didn't have it with Ridley, and when they tried forcing the ball to Ridley, they couldn't win. When they said, oh, look, Christian Kirk's still here. He's good. When they started feeding him, they were winning football games. And I say every NFL coach is an idiot, and that's true. So I hope Doug Peterson realizes that Christian Kirk is the guy. And yes, get Brian Thomas Jr. involved. Use Gabe Davis like the ghost he is. And just work around that, and we'll be good. Terry McLaurin or Amari Cooper? Fizzle.
It's going to be a great season for Terry, but I'm still going Cooper on this one, man. Cooper's a more dominant guy. You could put Coop. I feel like you can put Coop in. It's hard to say because Terry can play with any quarterback too, as we can see. Apparently. So I was going to say you could put Coop with any quarterback. He's going to shine. Terry has shown he can do the same, but Coop is a more dominant receiver one to me than Terry. So I'm going to go Coop.
Josh.
Yeah, Cooper is a top wide receiver in this league. I really don't feel like we've seen that yet from Terry McLaurin. So give me Cooper.
I'm the Antichrist here, apparently. Terry McLaurin.
He's never had a top 15 season, dude.
Listen, he needs to beat wide receiver 30. We're not asking for a top 15 season, all right? Again, if Amari Cooper had Joe Flacco, I would be taking him in the first round.
I'm happy that you said that. I'm happy you said that. Let's talk about these splits here with Amari Cooper. 6 games with Deshaun Watson, he was on pace for 261 fantasy points. You know what he was on pace for without Deshaun Watson? 262 fantasy points. He's the same fucking wide receiver.
So he's better. That's all I'm hearing
1
is
point
that
better.
Is he better though? That's what I'm hearing.
Well, we know
Njoku
was
pace
better
for more yards with Deshaun Watson than without.
Nah.
Just saying. Like there was a much bigger difference in production pace for David Njoku than there was for Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper was on pace to finish as the wide receiver 12 with Deshaun Watson and without Deshaun Watson.
But did Amari Cooper light up a team for 300 yards with or without Deshaun Watson? And he did it without him. So that's where I'm at. Last guy before we move on, because there's a lot of hype around him. Amari Cooper or Jaden Reed, who is wide receiver 34. Fizzle.
Bro, there's honestly no hype for Jaden Reed with me.
Okay.
I feel like he's going to fade the black on his team. I think people are going to buy him way too high. That ball is going to be spread all over the place. So I'm going to take Coop, the dominant number one in Cleveland.
Okay, Josh.
I'm going to use Fizzle's answer from earlier. In best ball, give me all the Jaden Reed.
Okay.
In redraft, I'm going to take Cooper. Just literally for that reason. I think he's so much safer. I do have Jaden Reed a lot higher in my overall rankings. I'm stupidly high on Jaden Reed this year. I think he's going to be a lot of fun to watch in that offense. But again, they're going to spread it around, and you're going to have some dud weeks from Jaden Reed. Hopefully, they're not weeks that Amari Cooper's on the road, though. So,
and we finish off today's show in the beautiful city of Arlington, Texas, for the Arlington Cowboys, with the backwards, upside-down Dallas hat, the Dallas Cowboys. Last year's record, 12-5, same coach, Mike McCarthy, same offense. Mr. McCarthy, Brian Schottenheimer is the OC, but McCarthy will call the plays. Projected starting offense, Diggity Dak, quarterback 9, Cooper Rush, still the backup. Back in a Cowboy uniform, Mr. Ezekiel Elliott, RB38, Rico Dowdle, RB43, and hell, Deuce Vaughn could see starting minutes at starting reps at this point with who his competition is in front of him, RB80. The wide receiver 1 and the former wide receiver 1 and the current wide receiver 1, CeeDee Lamb. Brandon Cooks, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 57. Jalen Tolbert, 88. Jalen Brooks, 110. Kevontae Turpin, listed on here solely for Scott Fishbowl. He's the wide receiver 5. Jake Ferguson is the tight end 1, and he is being drafted at tight end 9. We will start with the wide receiver 1, who is once again being drafted as the wide receiver 1. And I have to imagine Fizzle is not going to say anything bad about him and is projecting him to be, once again, the wide receiver 1. Take it away.
So I'm going to be honest, man. When you already number 1, it's hard to top that. So if he just decides to be our wide receiver 1.2, I'm not going to be mad at him. I felt like I spoke this up last year, man. We had a lot of debates and a lot of my leagues with Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, and I was taking CeeDee Lamb over both of those guys in every draft, every startup I had. And it wasn't just because I'm a Cowboys fan, but I also just looked at the argument the same way we just spoke on a lot of other guys. What does CeeDee have around him? And what does Dak Prescott do? Dak Prescott throws the ball. So when we got rid of Zeke, that let me know this Tony Pollard stuff that people thought was going to happen. I was never a Tony Pollard fan.
We didn't think that
we
on
were
this
not
show.
On that.
We were not on that train.
You get the pound right here.
Not even a little bit.
Because it was like Kellen Moore wanted Tony Pollard to look good. But once Kellen Moore was leaving, bro, it wasn't going to happen. I knew that was coming. So Dak Prescott, again, playing for 1 year. He's playing for a new deal. CeeDee Lamb wants a deal, which he's going to have by a season come. But I believe Dak is going to go out there, man, and throw that ball beyond like the air that's left in the ball. Like he might, deflate gate might be back, man, as much as he's going to throw that ball this year. So CeeDee Lamb is going to lead this league in targets. He's going to lead our team in receptions and touchdowns and receiving yards. And if Tyreek Hill decides he want to reach 2,000 yards again, cool. But CeeDee Lamb won't be no lower than receiver 2 or 3 in receiving yards. So all the categories stacked up. If you look at my guy, man, he's quiet, he's chill, he's low key, he ain't rowdy. So I think that's why people overlook him. Last year with the Jefferson and Chase, I get it, man. But just notice the receiver 1 is in Dallas, man. So hey, if you want a little bit of Lamb, you want a gyro, come holler at us, man. If not, you want to stay in second place, don't come get my guy, But CeeDee is the GOAT, man. That's all I got to say about my guy, man. I had to put him on here. I don't think nobody's going to argue with receiver 1, but if they do, they don't like to eat good. So Lamb for dinner, man. That's how we going to cook it up.
Your other options would be, again, your top 5 in order goes CeeDee, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown.
I love those guys.
Love them. None of them even touch CeeDee Lamb.
No.
Tyreek Hill, timing route king. Jamar Chase, love him. We'll see what his quarterback situation is. Justin Jefferson, J.J. McCarthy. There's 2 words for you. J.J. McCarthy. There's a world where I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is second behind CeeDee Lamb. There's a full world where that happens.
It can. I feel like if you look at CeeDee, this was the disconnect, right? Especially with me and Mike. Me and Mike had this argument, and he talked about A.J. Brown, because A.J. Brown, remember the first 7 weeks, he was getting like 9, 10, 11, 12 targets. CeeDee was averaging like 7 targets a game. And like I told Mike, I said, bro, A.J. is leading because he's getting the targets. CeeDee is only getting 6 or 7 a game. And I don't know what the disconnect was with the offense, but I heard that he went to Mike McCarthy and said, hey, I need the ball. And after I think week 4 or 5, he went up every week. It was double digits, man. And I knew all he needs is the targets. You can't lead the league in receiving yards if you don't have the targets, unless you,
high efficiency.
Yeah, I mean, Tank
Will
Dale,
Fuller.
unless you Tank Dale without the injury, you know what I'm saying? So I just believe as long as the targets are there, CeeDee Lamb is receiver 1 because he has Brandon Cooks and Jalen Tolbert around him. and it's no threat to his job. I mean, they're going to draw him up in different plays. He doesn't play one position. He doesn't have a DeVonta Smith beside him. He doesn't have a T. Higgins beside him. He don't have a Jordan Addison beside him. I love me some Brandon Cooks. I like to shoot arrows and all that good stuff, but CeeDee Lamb, man, is the receiver one for right now and hopefully beyond. So that's my guy, man.
I was going to say, I have him as the leading target earner amongst wide receivers in my projections, and I have him 18 over number 2. I actually have A.J. Brown taking a big step in targets this year with
plays, 100%.
So. But, yeah, I'm right there with you. I will say my only cause for pause with CeeDee is how long he decides to hold out.
That was my biggest fear, bro. I'm glad you brought that up.
That's my biggest fear.
The holdout scares me. The holdout scares me.
Yeah,
injuries.
It feels like everybody that starts the season coming back from a holdout, things start a little slow, and they don't always gain that full speed back
every time.
And I think that could be what opens up room for potentially somebody else coming in and stealing that wide receiver 1 overall spot, but. I feel like every year, I don't think we've had a repeat wide receiver 1 since Antonio Brown, right?
And I'm talking trash, bro. I don't think he's gonna finish number 1. I'll be honest with you. I think a St. Brown, like Joe said, I think a St. Brown is due for a receiver 1 and dethrone CeeDee. I still think, to me, he's the receiver 1, but he might not finish receiver 1 though. I'd say that.
I can get on board with that. I have Amon as my wide receiver 2 in my ranking, so I think if there's anybody that takes him, he would be the guy that I would pick.
Before the bye week, CeeDee Lamb had 1 touchdown in 2 games over 100 yards, one of those with double-digit receptions. After the bye week, he only had 1 week where he didn't score a touchdown. In that week, he was 11 for 191 yards. He had 6 games of double-digit receptions, all of which, except 1, he had over 100 yards. And the weeks that he didn't have triple-digit yards, he had at least 1 touchdown in all of those games, and at least 5 receptions.
Yeah,
really hard to not put him at 1.
And that's the thing too, is like Dak's out here playing for a contract, right? He's gonna want to force feed CeeDee.
Bro,
like, yo, let's get this bag together, homie.
That
like,
was my argument. That was my argument over taking him over Jefferson and Chase and those startups, bro. I took CeeDee in like 3 leagues, and it wasn't because I was just clearly a Dallas fan. I felt like if I could have took Jefferson, I could have maybe traded him for CeeDee plus, because a lot of people were down on CeeDee. I got CeeDee at the 201 in a couple of leagues. Like, people just weren't feeling it, so. Can't get him now, though.
My argument last year for not taking Jefferson or Jamar Chase was Christian McCaffrey was on the board at the 101. So that's crazy.
Yeah,
that was
running
back lover.
He doesn't count, bro. He doesn't count.
He doesn't count, literally. All right. The one tight end that is okay to talk about, because I do think he has insane value where he currently is Jake Ferguson. We talk about, David Njoku is definitely, we would probably say, the clear 2 in that offense. Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, don't scare us. Jake Ferguson has played with this same quarterback and is legitimately the second option in this offense. And in all reality, the targets around him, 1, didn't get better. They actually got worse when you think about it. And they have no running game to speak of to even use out of that backfield. So, Josh, Jake Ferguson at tight end 9 feels dirty.
Yeah, as I mentioned with Dallas Goedert, that tight end 7 to 12 range is kind of, it's usually been that sort of like, dead zone of tight ends. Tight end 7 to 12. George Kittle, Evan Ingram, Jake Ferguson, Brock Bowers, David Njoku, Dallas Goedert. Of those 6 tight ends that I just named, how many do you realistically think could top 100 targets?
2, Ingram and Ferguson.
Yep, and those would be the only 2 guys that I'm actually willing to draft in this range for that exact reason. I want to chase targets. If I'm not getting those high upside, high tight end value guys in that top 6, I want the volume. And that's what Jake Ferguson brings to the table. CeeDee Lamb is unquestionably the target hog in this offense. Brandon Cooks is a shell of himself. He still has that deep speed. Defenses have to trust that. So if they're covering him deep, who's working underneath? It's CeeDee Lamb and it's Jake Ferguson. Those are the two guys in this offense that you want. Dak Prescott will pepper Jake Ferguson with targets. Dalton Schultz made a career out of living underneath in this offense and did pretty damn well for himself, moving on to Houston, getting a $13 million a year contract this offseason. Jake Ferguson is literally built the exact same way. He's not overly athletic. He works underneath, averages 10 plus yards per reception. Get him the volume. He's going to do just fine. This is screaming value in fantasy drafts. So if you missed on some of these earlier guys, target Jake Ferguson in that 7th, 8th round range, because that's where he should be going when redraft really starts kicking off.
From week 8 on, there was 1 week where he had less than 5 targets, and he had 4 straight weeks with 8 targets. All of those, by the way, the final 2 games of your regular season and the first 2 games of your playoffs.
Yep.
So is he going to blow you away? No, not even a little bit. This is an average white man playing football. Let's get that out of the way. This is an average white dude who happens to be tall and can catch a football. I don't know what more special about the man is. David Njoku's a freak of nature. This is an insurance agent with NFL athleticism.
Jake from State Farm, maybe?
Jake from State Farm. Literally. But what he's going to do is consistently get you anywhere between 10 to 15 points a week. And what more could you ask for out of your tight end? And realistically, what more could you ask for?
Especially when you drafting the way you drafted them at.
Yes, like that's you're telling me I can get a consistent, like, okay, average 9 points a game. Awesome. Great. That's 9 points I didn't have.
Yeah,
That's
I mean, he was averaging
10
10.4 fantasy points per game just last year. I mean, 71, 761. Like, it's not anything special, but again, like, he's the only option in that offense. Like,
he's the
outside
underneath
of CeeDee
guy.
Lamb, like, that's it. You know, give me all that.
And you have to imagine his touchdowns probably go up from 5. So he only had 5 last year. And 3 of them came in a 3-week span in the middle of the season, so it wasn't even that big. He only had 1 touchdown after week 11. You have to imagine that's going to go up. So that's only going to help his draft value. I mean, even if it goes up, 3 touchdowns to 8, and he has roughly the same season he had, if not a little better, that's insane value at tight end 9. And before we dive into last guy, Dak Prescott, Hyattville does bring up a question, and I'm sure this is for Fizzle. What would it cost to trade CeeDee Lamb and best ball?
It's only because I'm trying to get CeeDee from him, and he's trying to figure out a good price. So this is really what this is, bro.
Would it be the buy-in for the league plus steak dinner?
Well, see, this is the problem, right? It depends on your construction, and he already knows in this league, I don't want to win this year, so there's no point in me buying a guy that I don't want to win with. So, what's the price in our league? You'll find out later. But the price for CeeDee, it's got to be minimum 2 first, right? We're gonna figure out maybe a receiver to throw in. I'm not sure.
I think someone like a Pickens in 2 first. I assume it's probably super flex.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think that's a fair price.
Yeah. Because I don't want to specifically go from my league, so I'm just thinking it definitely 2 first and a receiver, but it depends on your if you think you want to build and stack, because some people don't care about picks. Some people say, look, man, I need some depth. I need
players,
win now pieces. If I'm getting rid of CeeDee, I need a guaranteed player or 3 players, especially in best ball. And that's my thing with the overprice of paying for CeeDee. I need to be able to win now, because if I'm not winning now, me giving you 3 or 4 assets to get one guy is really going to set me back even more. So, I can't give you a price, brother, because you're trying to cheat me right now. So I'm not going to give you a price, man.
Well, I like what Koopa says. I like what Koopa says here with, CeeDee's got to be worth at least 3 firsts in lineup. And I think that's fair. I mean, I made 2 trades to get CeeDee Lamb in Dynasty last year. One of them was a half PPR super flex. I gave up Drake London and what turned out to be a mid-round first this year. That to me felt like a steal. Then after CeeDee Lamb had already blew up around like week 13 or like 12, 13, 14, I traded Nico, Jalen Waddle, and 2 firsts for just CeeDee Lamb. It won me a title though, so it was worth it.
Was that a lineup or best ball?
Yeah, I don't play in any best ball.
Okay, because like Cooper said, it's slightly less in best ball if you add the value. Which like I said, best ball, man, it's so tricky because if I trade for CeeDee Lamb and he gets hurt, but you got 4 values out of me, bro. You got so much money left over. It's just like a killer. So best ball is slightly harder, man, with them trades because you feel like you're giving away so much for one player. It's tough, man. It's really tough to figure that out sometimes. But when you know somebody like CeeDee Lamb, you're going to try to get the most out of it. So I'm not knocking them, man. You know, do what you got to know your lead. That's the only thing I can say. Know your lead.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
And we'll end in Dallas with the quarterback, aforementioned Dak Prescott, saying people need to stop fading him. He's the quarterback 9. And we'll end this with, I mean, everyone's favorite. Would you rather? Because quarterback 9 does feel low for a guy like Dak Prescott, considering he is pretty consistent year over year with who he is. And
he was QB3 last year.
I think it's just a helmet, bro. People just don't like Dallas. If he was putting those numbers up for another team, they would like him. I think it's just a helmet.
I disagree because people can't stand Kirk Cousins in fantasy, and homeboy still produces year in and year out.
Well, Kirk Cousins doesn't.
I think they're taking
run.
Neither is
but
Dak,
Kirk
really.
Kirk never gets drafted where he's valued either, though. That's what I'm saying. Like they just don't.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. In the offseason, we stupidly overrate rushing value, and it very rarely actually comes to fruition. That's the problem.
But I know in recent years he hasn't been big on rushing. When he started his career, he was six touchdowns
right after
every
that
year.
Ankle injury, he's been a different player.
He's been a much different player. But I think it's that. But there's it feels like the last 3 years, or minus the injury year, it feels like he starts off slow. He starts off just kind of meh, like it's not anything to write home about. Then there's that like 5-week stretch in the middle of the season where every talk show on planet Earth is saying he's the MVP. And then like week 14 hits.
He has a dud.
And he has a dud.
It's the Dallas curse, bro. It's December, man. I don't know what it is, bro.
It hits week 14.
You got like even when Romo was there, bro, it was like we just like really bad, man.
It hits week 14 and something just he loses something and the rest of the season's a wash. They lose in the first round of the playoffs.
Yep.
That feels like it's the same story every year with Dak. So I think that's why people fade him, is because those 5 weeks, you're going to win every fucking week as you throw him for 350 and 3 touchdowns. You're going to win every single week. Yep. But when you need him most, right, when your fantasy playoffs start, he has shown consistently he doesn't provide for you. So I think that's where the undervalue comes. But even where he's being undervalued, it does feel like there's a couple names around here where you're like, are we really going to put him in the same conversation as Dak Prescott? I'll start at quarterback 7. And again, these rounds are a little off. Quarterbacks go in different rounds, but
you should go higher than that, honestly, Joe.
Well, Anthony Richardson is unfair at quarterback 5. It's Dak Prescott over Anthony Richardson. That one's
Dak all day.
I don't know, bro. I'm going A-Rich, brother. I'm not gonna lie to you, man.
At 5, it's
Dynasty, yes, not in redraft.
Man, A-Rich could be QB1 this year, bro. I'll be honest with you.
Not even close.
Well, I'd say this. I got Lamar's QB1, so I'm a Lamar Jackson fiend, man. I'm a fan. I'm a stan Lamar, man. So, but
see that to me though is more realistic. Lamar's actually been QB1 in fantasy.
I got you. I'm with you. I think people sleeping on A-Rich though, man. Maybe it's just the dynasty in me. Maybe it's the dynasty in me.
I think it is the dynasty in you.
Maybe it's the dynasty in me, man. But A-Rich, man, woo.
He's just got to stay healthy. That's what we need to see. I'll go up since we're there because people may think he has a sophomore slump. CJ Stroud or Dak Prescott, fizzle.
That's tough. I feel like CJ has way better weapons. So, man, I say this. I trust Dak what you just said with the consistency level, I would take CJ over Dak because of the consistency. I feel like the weapons around CJ won't make him look bad. Like he could just throw it to anybody and he's going to look like he had a good game. So I would take CJ only because of the weapons around him. There's no way to make CJ look bad this year when he throws the ball to anybody. So I take CJ.
Josh.
There's only 5 quarterbacks I would take above Dak Prescott, and CG Stroud isn't one of them.
Okay. On the clock, I wouldn't take a quarterback this high, but for the game, I would take CJ Stroud. Kyler Murray or Dak Prescott, Fizzle.
Man, you making me look bad as a Cowboys fan, bro. Bro, and I'm not even the highest on Kyler Murray, man, but I think this year, Kyler is going to show people something different, man. I know we talked earlier about the Russian quarterback thing, how it never really works out, but I think Kyler owed people a smack in the mouth. So I would take Kyler, but it's to the point where we on like chin hair level right now. So I'm going to go Kyler right now because of the Russian aspect. That's the only reason.
I mean, he could run for 800, 900 yards realistically.
For sure.
So, Josh.
Dak, and it's not close.
All right, you don't like Kyler Murray. That's
hey, Josh,
no, it's not that I don't like Kyler Murray. I think the Cardinals' offense is a year away, and I think a lot of the hype, guys like A-Rich and Kyler, I think we're a year early on them.
Okay,
that's what I think.
Joey Burr or Dak Prescott, Fizzle.
Oh no, I'm taking Dak over Joe, man. I don't like. I'm not the biggest Joe Burrow fan at all. Injury on top of injury. No consistency, really. I'm gonna go with Dak on that one.
Josh.
Dak.
Real football, it's Joe Burrow, but in fantasy football, it's not even close. It's Dak Prescott in this conversation. Dak or Jordan Love, Fizzle.
Hey, I'm taking Dak, man. I even traded Jordan Love for Dak in some leagues, so I mean, other things were included, but I'm taking Dak, man. Dak over Jordan Love for sure.
Josh.
Remember when I said there's 5 quarterbacks I would take over Dak? Jordan Love is one of them.
Oh, okay. I mean, they were neck and neck last year. Like
they were. Yeah. I like where that Green Bay offense is heading, and I think Jordan Love's ability to spread the football around is actually going to provide a lot more outlets for Jordan Love. The biggest reason why I don't have CJ Stroud there yet, we saw it last year with Jordan Love. We haven't yet seen it with CJ Stroud. So I'm going to still trust Dak over CJ, but give me Jordan Love over Dak.
They are literally going one pick apart in best ball drafts. One is the first pick of the 9th round, one's the second. And I will end it with 2 guys people love to hate. Dak Prescott or Brock Purdy, Fizzle.
I'm going Dak, man. Don't ask me about Purdy because it's going to get dirty. So we're going to go Dak Prescott. Lead that Purdy guy as Mr. Irrelevant, man. Shout out to him, but Dak Prescott, baby.
Josh, I already know your answer.
Dak, and it's not close.
Yeah, it's
the amount of times I've had to say Dak as an Eagles fan is not.
Hey, listen, Josh, I like you, man. You my guy, man. You my guy, man.
I did it for you. Phil,
hey, I can call a spade a spade. You know,
I ain't mad at you.
I do think it is closer than people may give it credit for, but Dak Prescott, I think it is closer.
The efficiency is bound to come down for Brock Purdy. What goes up comes down. So I'm not there yet. Maybe
we'll see. We're gonna find out this year. We'll see. I'm not a Brock Purdy stan. I'm not a Brock Purdy hater, but I'm not a Dak Prescott stan or hater. I like them both. I took Dak his rookie year because I was like, Tony Romo's gonna get hurt and Dak Prescott's gonna be the starter. Boom, called that shit.
Well, thanks for you. Thanks a lot, brother. You the reason.
Hey, I'm the reason. I'm the reason why we have the shittiest broadcast booth of all professional sports with Jim Nantz and Tony Romo. I'm the reason. And I apologize for that, people. I apologize for that. Fizzle, thanks for coming on.
No doubt,
friend. This was a fantastic one. Remind us one time, where can everybody find you and your work?
Well, I'm in South Harmon, man. Got my show now every Friday, Fizzle Fridays. I try to leave all the analytics and the calculators and everything out of the way, man. We just have a good conversation. I usually got Mike on. He's like my guy every Friday consistently. We just bring up fun topics. I keep it football related, but it can go from music to, whatever's going on the week. So check me out at South Harmon on Fridays. I do music, so if you want to check me out, it's Fizzle Dollars without the S. It's a dollar sign. The socials won't allow me to add the dollar sign, man. I guess I don't have enough money yet. I gotta holler at Elon Musk, man, or something. Give me a cyber truck. I don't know, but yeah, just check me out, man. I'm everywhere, and you reach out, I reach back, man. So I'm glad I'm here. I appreciate the guys inviting me, man. I had a good time tonight. So
appreciate you.
Love it. I will end it with this because I can speak on this. Boston needed old man Al Horford to come back to win the ship. They needed Zeke to come back to open up the Dallas offense to win the ship.
Let's go, boy.
I will say Al Horford was back for 3 seasons before they won the ship. So that means Ezekiel Elliott will be 32 by the time that hits. So I don't know.
He won't be here, brother. Sorry.
I don't know if that's the case. He might not even be employed at that time.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's the case, but you never know. You never know. We'll see. All right. Look inside, full swing. Jalen Hurts, Nick Chubb are up already. One more dropping on Friday. Next week, Packers, Bucks, Texans. Yes, teams that can actually win playoff games. Oh, my goodness. Make sure you subscribe to the
Your
YouTube
favorite
page.
guest is back, too.
Is my favorite guest? Oh, TBD.
TBD.
I didn't even read that. Oh, yes, my favorite guest. TBD is back. We love TBD. We don't know who the guest is, folks. We'll tell you later. You're missing out on all the great podcasts if you're not subscribed. Trade Blocked, 8 p.m. Eastern Thursday nights. That's the Dynasty Trade Show. Mock Girls Summer, 10 p.m. Eastern, which is Thursday, correct? Friday? Thursday?
Thursday. Yep,
Beautiful. Thursday night. Stephanie Miller from Legendary Upside joining this week. Summer School, Best Ball, Friday nights at 6 p.m. Mock It Like It's Hot, 11 a.m. on Saturday mornings. Dynasty After Party, Sundays at 11 a.m. Mocking with the Stars, Mondays, 10 p.m. Masterclass, 8:30 p.m. And if you like golf, or even if you don't like golf and you like winning money, Who's Your Caddy Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern. We have a show every fucking day.
Yep.
Look at that. I just do one.
No Saturday show this week because we're doing the Scott Fishbowl draft for on Saturday. So no Mock It Like It's Hot this week, but everything else is back. So we're good.
Oh, well, we look at that. We're in full swing, and I'm sure more will come towards the start of the season. For Josh, myself, Fizzle, and Ryan, who is not here, you can follow Club Fantasy on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Club Fantasy FFL. The URL is clubfantasyffl.com. Always remember, defense wins championships, offense wins fantasy football. We will see you next week.